I'm Doug Doherty, president of Hamilton Flourishing, and I'm so glad that you joined us today. We've got an exciting conversation, and it's something we all need to be thinking about. You may have, recently, there were 36 people that ran for Chattanooga City Council and Mayor, 36 people. And I interviewed about 30 of them. And one of the things that impressed me or made an impact on me was that a lot of the people running for city council thought that they would go in there with a white flag and a white horse and they would get whatever they wanted done would be done. And I said, that's really not the way that it works. You've got to have 5 people have got to vote for things to make it happen. So it made me start thinking about how does the county commission work, and what is the different scope of power that the county commission, the city council, and our other municipalities have. So today we've got in the studio with us Greg Martin, who is the District 3 County Commissioner. And Greg's a great guy. He's smart as a whip. He's a good commissioner. And I've asked Greg to come and talk about kind of the scope of power of the county commission. How is it different from the city council? And he's going to do that with us today. So Greg, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate you having me here to talk about this.
Now tell me, you're at District 3?
That's right.
So where is District 3?
Well, currently it is Hickson, Middle Valley, Big Ridge, and Lakeside. That's the area that I represent. We'll be having redistricting here before too long because of the census that's taken place, and they redistrict on the federal level, the state level, and even on the local level. So that's subject to change.
Yeah. So that's a big thing coming up. Redistricting is a big thing coming up.
Yeah.
Before I launch an election, let me ask you this thing, because this has come up a little bit. We just got a letter in the mail, and it was in the paper, not my letter, but the story, that there's been reappraisals of the property. And so people in Hamilton County, I think by law, have to have their property reappraised every so often.
Right.
But what I didn't understand was that even though your appraisals went up, some places, 25, 30%, that the tax rate does not go up, but in fact has to be revenue neutral. And the reason I'm asking you to explain this to people is because it's my understanding that only a majority of county commissioners can raise property taxes. Is that true?
That is true. And the simplest way I know how to say that about the appraisal is that, let's say that you had 100 homes, and those 100 homes that have been existing were bringing in $100. And then you reevaluated those homes through the reappraisal. If you took the high end and their taxes went up to $102, then the low end would go to $98. And so, because you can't add revenue, it has to be revenue neutral, as you said, for during the reappraisal. So the millage rate will go down unless the county commission votes to raise the millage rate, and that's when taxes go up.
Okay.
And it's only the county commission or the city council on the city side that can set the millage rate. It's not the mayor. It's not the assessor of property. It's not done in referendum. It's done by the elected representatives on the legislative body of the county commission.
It can't be done by referendum.
I don't believe it can be done by referendum to raise the millage rate. I don't think it's ever been done.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but the mayor, in our case, Mr. Coppinger, in the county, he could propose it, but
Sure.
that doesn't mean he can't pass it.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
He could propose it, but at the end of the day, it's 9 county commissioners that set the tax rate
Right.
for county government.
Right.
Just like in Congress, the president can propose a tax increase, but if he doesn't have the House and the Senate to pass it, there's not going to be a tax increase.
Right.
And so it's the same thing on the local level and the same thing on the state level.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about the county commission. That was something that was on my mind. In these interviews that I did for the city, all the people without exception, pretty much thought that they could ride in on a white horse and say, this is my issue, and we're going to have grocery stores in my neighborhood, and we're going to have sidewalks, and we're going to have paved roads, and we're going to have new businesses, and even if you could create some of those things which are private, you still would have to have, it's my understanding, a majority of people, 5. Okay. Is that the same way in the county commission? I mean, can one
Yeah.
county commissioner just have his way?
No, it takes 5 votes to do something. I mean, if we want to make the front door the back door and the back door the front door, it'd take 5 votes. If we wanted to move the courthouse back up to Dallas Island in Hickson at Chester Frost, where it was in the beginning, after it was at Poe's Tavern, we could do that, but that's not going to happen, obviously. But it takes 5 votes of the county commission to do those things. And you know, when people talk about paving roads and sidewalks and things like that, I get that, because those are functions of government. Getting a restaurant, a grocery store in your community, that's private business, and I think people that serve on the county commission or city government, they ought to be advocates, cheerleaders, and salesmen to private business to locate in our communities.
Right.
But those are investments that the Publix,
Right.
Food Cities, different places where they make good business decisions.
Right. Right. Well, it was just interesting. It was a bit of an education to hear people's perspective on what they could do if they were elected, and I said, I don't think that's right. So how does, say you have something that you're interested in, say has something to do with improving roads somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
How would you move that so that the whole commission would act on it?
Well, we're in budget season right now, and what we're doing is we're going to be talking about the budget during the month of May, and we'll adopt it in June. And so it's one of those things that, you know, if there are roads that need to be paved or infrastructure that needs to be built, we would take that through our finance department, and then they put the budget together after talking with all the departments, and then the budget is brought together and we vote on it for a year. It's what you call planning. And so we plan for what we're going to do in the budget. And that's just one of the functions of county government. I always, the county commission, I always like to think of the county commission as the ABZs.
Tell me about this. This is great.
Yeah. Well, first of all, is the A is the appointments. That's one of the main things that the county commission does, is that the appointing of different vacancies or different boards. Like, for example, we have a health and safety board. People sometimes complain that their neighbor's property is unsafe. It doesn't matter if it's unsightly, but if it's unsafe, then there is some statute and state law that the county commission can begin to work on. And we have a board that looks at those kind of issues. And there's other boards. There's the wastewater treatment board. You know, if there's a vacancy on the school board, or like, for example, we had a judge that retired. Judge Shattuck retired, I think, last year. And so up prior to the election last year, what we did is we appointed Gerald Webb to take his place. And as the first African American to be a judge in Hamilton County, and I was proud to be one of the ones that cast the vote for him. And one of my colleagues has just announced that on the commission that Mr. Bankson Commissioner Bankson out in District 9 has submitted his resignation, and he's going to be retiring and moving from the area. So the rest of us, the 8 of us, will appoint someone temporarily to fill that place until the next election with the people of District 9.
Now, you mentioned the school board. Do you all do that the same authority with the school board?
Yes, if there was a vacancy on the school board, then the county commission would appoint someone who would serve temporarily until the next election when the people of that district could decide.
Not the school board.
The school board member. Let's say, for example, when in District 3 in 2012, I think it was, Mr. Fairchild retired, and there was a vacancy. Well, the county commission appointed someone to take his place until the next election, and I happened to be the guy that they appointed. So that's why I'm a little bit familiar with it on that side, and it takes 5 votes, and that person will just serve until the next election. So appointments is part of it, but then there's the budget process, which you were asking about the money as far
Yeah,
as
yeah.
infrastructure. You know, and the county commission is the legislative body of local government, which is the one that's going to set the tax rate, the millage rate, and is going to set where the spending priorities are going to be. And right now, on the local level, it's pretty much public education. That takes about 61% of our local tax dollars are put into our fine public school system that we have here in Hamilton County. And you know, there's other things like public safety and the sheriff's department, the jails, parks. You know, county government kind of mirrors state government. State government really gives the county its authority.
Talk about that just a minute.
Yeah.
Because there's not a county constitution.
No, no.
So what's the origin of governance for the county?
Well, it really goes back to the days in England, you know, is where that local government, county government, if you trace it back in history, I don't want to get too lost on the weeds on that. But our government, our county government, the 95 counties in the state of Tennessee really get their authority from the state of Tennessee and the state constitution. You know, which I think is an interesting thing, Doug, when you think about that where the authority of government comes from. The federal government has no government without states. We are the United States. The Constitution was ratified by the states. And the county government doesn't have any authority without the states. And so I think state government is extremely, you know, important. And we get our authority from state law. So we tend to mirror state law in the sense that states provide, state of Tennessee provides public education, Hamilton County does. The state of Tennessee provides law enforcement, you know, the highway department, judicial system, same thing on the county. And where you see a difference of that in the city is some cities will have those types of things in their charter and some won't. For example, Chattanooga used to have a public school system, and then they got out of the public school system. Some people call it a merger. It really wasn't a merger, it was much as that Chattanooga had surrendered their charter to provide public education, so the county had to take it over by state law. And there are cities in Hamilton County, I think there's 10 cities, municipalities, but like you take, for example, Ridgeside, a little city over on Missionary Ridge, they don't have a police force or a fire department. I think they contract with East Ridge's city fire department. Or you take up the city of Lakeside, up in my district, they don't have a police force to do that, so the county sheriff takes care of that. And so what you find lots of times in cities is, I like to say it this way, they have enhanced services. Things like garbage pickup, the sidewalks, the lights, the speed bumps in the road. County government doesn't really have those types of requirements because they're not required by the state of Tennessee to provide those services. So that's kind of the difference between county and city government.
So is the garbage pickup in the county individually
Yes,
contracted?
yes. Lots of people, like in my neighborhood, I live in the unincorporated area. You know, there's 2 or 3 garbage companies that come through our neighborhood and pick up the trash, and we pay them, I don't know, $45 every 2 months or something like that to do
Yeah.
that. But in the city, you pay your taxes, and they come get them every week. And they also, I believe, in the city of Chattanooga, even have recycling. My wife and I, we recycle every Saturday morning. We just take we have to take our recycling stuff to the place in the unincorporated area.
Yeah, that's great. So you got A, you got
Is appointments, and then B would be
is
the
budgets,
is the
and
budgets.
Then,
And then Z is what I would say is about zoning, because what you have there is you have like, let's say somebody's had a farm that their family owned for 100 years or 200 years, whatever, and the farm is passed down, and the new owner of the farm says, I really don't want to be a farmer. I went to school at UT or whatever. I own my own business and I want to do whatever. I don't want to be a farmer. Then if they want to sell that farm to somebody who's going to build houses on it, before they can build houses, if it's in the unincorporated area, it comes to the county commission, and the county commission is going to take a vote on how we're going to rezone property. Most of those things you see in a lot of these neighborhoods, like Stonewall Farms and other things, used to be farms and now they're neighborhoods. But also you have other zoning issues. You know, sometimes it's a matter of zoning something commercial from residential to commercial, and those are matters that will come before the city if it's in the unincorporated part of the county. If it's in the city of Chattanooga, then it would go to the city council to vote on how to rezone that property.
Mm.
And I think Red Bank and Saudi Daisy, I'm not real sure about those municipalities because they're not in my district, but I think they do their own zoning program over there. I don't think it has anything to do with City of Chattanooga or Hamilton County zoning. Those commissioners and city councilmen or aldermen of those municipalities would make their own decisions with regard to that.
This is just a question. I have heard that in the northern part of the county, where there's a lot of big farms, that there's some disquietude, some unsettledness, where they're trying to sell some of these big farms to developers, and some of the neighbors are saying, well, not in my backyard. I really don't want a subdivision in my backyard.
Right.
And it's creating a bit of tension between the developers, because I mean, they'll just go somewhere else. They'll go to North Georgia or Bradley County or someplace else. They'll just do that. So, am I right? Have I heard that right?
Oh, I think you're always going to have conversations. You know, when you've lived somewhere for 10 years and you've looked out your back window at your neighbor's farm or your neighbor's trees, and you kind of tend to think they're yours because you've been looking at them, but they're not yours because you didn't buy them. You're not paying property taxes on them. And you know, we had a case come before us not long ago. It really kind of summed it up for me. This fellow wanted to sell his farm, and he wanted to take the money and retire. And what he basically said to me was, look, this is my retirement program. I don't have a 401k. I don't have a pension. I have this land that's been passed down to me, and I've been waiting for the right time to sell it so that I could get the money and move to Florida and retire like other people. And I thought, wow, what an argument, you know, because when you think about retirement programs and you think about, you know, they always say that real estate is one of the most secure investments that you could have. So, and I get that people, you know, they don't want it in their backyard. They want they want to move to the country and it stay the country like it was when they moved in. They don't want to see it change. And I get that argument.
Yeah. So, the county commission, when I think of your all's main responsibilities, they would then be appointments, budgeting, and zoning.
Those are the main three
be
things. No, there's a few other things that come along. You know, there's different resolutions. Those are the main things that take up our time and our energy and what we spend most of our resources on. But there are other things that we do besides that that are, you know, important. But those are just the main things to break it down for people. Trying to keep it simple.
Appreciate that. Where do you think, I mean, how long have you been in county government?
Well, I've been on the county commission now for 4 years.
4 years. Where do you think, post-COVID, if we ever get to post-COVID, where do you think the county is going? What's your feeling on that?
Well, you know, Hamilton County economically has fared very well, I think, during this. I mean, you just drive around town, you see help wanted signs everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and when you look at the real estate market, and you know, that's what I do for my paying job. The other job pays some too, but that's where my livelihood comes from, is real estate. I mean, there are a ton of people that are wanting to move here from states that have been locked down, and California and New York and Minnesota and other places, you know, that are moving here because Tennessee in general and Hamilton County in particular is really open for business. And I commend Mayor Coppinger and the economic policies that he has brought about, and the commission has joined with him on that. And I think one of the things that's really important, Doug, when you think about county government, you know, it's easy for people to pick on government. Government is the easiest thing. The government and funeral homes are the two easiest things for folks to throw darts at, as business, so to speak. But when you look at Hamilton County, this isn't Washington, D.C. We have a AAA bond rating, which I believe is the only county in the state of Tennessee, which means that physically and financially, Hamilton County is really set on a solid path as a government. And I think that's something that people can really be proud of. I know when I have constituents call me about a pothole, which is very rare in the unincorporated area. You get a lot of complaints about that in the city. But that in the unincorporated area, our maintenance department, they take care of those things quick. You know, they do a really good job of servicing and putting the tax dollars to work for the people.
Well, let me change subject just a little bit. You are elections are 2022.
That's right.
The primaries are in May. I think so.
I think they are. They're in the spring.
And then the general election is in August.
Yeah.
So, and if I remember right, the whole county commission goes up at the same time.
Right.
So all 9 seats will be
Up for election.
and that's not that far from now in terms of I'm assuming people like you are already thinking about getting prepared and you know what you're going to do and marshaling resources and things like that. What do you see? What do you see as the future for? I asked you about the county, but I mean, as you kind of look in your crystal ball, where do you think Hamilton County is going?
Well, I think we're headed in the right direction. I mean, as a government, as I was saying, we're fiscally sound. I think that our government on county is pretty responsive to the people when they have their needs, and I think that's a good thing. That people have trusted the leadership that's there, and I think we're headed in the right direction as a county. There's always room for improvement. There's always issues that are going to come before us when it comes to economic development and other things that are going to come before us. The jail, you know, that we're relocating it from downtown out to Silverdale. Those are issues that we have to deal with as a government. But when you talk about 2022, you know, it's not just the county commission, but all the constitutional officers are going to be on the ballot. All the state legislators, except I believe Senator Gardenhire, his district, but Senator Watson will be, and all the state reps, all the judges. I mean, it's going to be a really lengthy ballot.
And the governor.
And the governor, right. That's going to be a lengthy ballot in 2022. And so there'll be a lot of folks that'll be looking for opportunities for service.
Yeah. Well, Greg, thank you so much for coming. I think we've put up on the screen ways that people can contact, or at least a way that your phone number.
That's fine.
So people can contact you, and we'll put that up on the screen, and people can get in touch with you if they have any questions.
You know, I used to tell people.
I think we're real lucky to have people like you on the county commission. I really do. I think we're very fortunate, and we'll watch the city now that we have a new mayor and see what goes on there, and wish him well. Hope that he does a good job. And Chattanooga is a special place. I've lived here my whole life, and my family's been a part of this community for a long time, and it's been good to us, and I hope it continues to be good for lots of people, as many people as possible. So I hope that. But thank you, and again, we've been talking to Greg Martin. His contact information is on the screen, and District 3, re-election 2022. Going to probably be a lot of people running for different things, and primaries, and general elections, and then November elections, and then so it's going to be a big thing, and because it's going to push down from the federal level, because the House is going to be a real battle royale. It won't affect, I don't think, around here, but it'll be a real battle. So a lot's going to go on, and so thank you for coming. Thank you for explaining this to us, and I want to thank you, the viewer, for watching this edition of Hamilton First.